exactly it is. So I think in the subsequent sessions, we will see that how this journey of Mr. Samrat to Samarth happened. So initially, when it comes to us, he just asked the question how to start the smart manufacturing. That's everybody of us has, most of you who joined this session have this kind of a question in mind. Those who own the manufacturing facility, they have this kind of a question in their mind. So I just want to understand before I go to the discussion with Samrat and then explain what exactly he wants to know. I just want to understand the quick composition of the audience. So I'm just throwing up a poll. So you just please respond to this. I just want to know the background you come from. So if you are from academics, you are from a manufacturing industry, if you are from a service industry, if you are a consultant, or if you are from a government department. So that I think at least let me catch on if you are having a similar understanding of what the Samrat is having about his business or not. So just a quick survey to give me an idea at least so that I will be just covering the topics accordingly. So please quickly vote on this. I think just in a straightforward to know about the audience mix right now in front of me, because I may not be able to interact live. Certainly with the smaller batches as we keep moving along, we will be able to have a more live interactive sessions where we will be having a two-way dialogues possible. Yeah, still 40% left out to vote. Please respond so that we'll get an idea about the audience right now. So I'm just waiting for the response to be completed. At least 75% of you should respond so that we'll move on the discussions. Another 2-3%, I'm just waiting. So another 30 seconds, let's finish this. So fine, I think I got a fair idea from this poll. That's nice. I think let's move ahead. So idea is that once the Samrat come to us, he wants to understand how to start the smart manufacturing. So I think then we had started the dialogue, and I will be explaining what are the stages in smart manufacturing, means how he should move ahead on this journey. So based on whatever setup and facility he has, we advise that at least you should start integrating some of the sensing and little bit actuation and computing into their machine, into his machines actually, because that's the first step or first stage to move into the smart manufacturing. I should say that even it is not a stage to smart manufacturing, it's just a prerequisite to move into this journey. So he has to start integrating some of the basic sensing and controlling into his machines. That's the starting point. And once he embedded or integrated these sensors into the machine, so maybe any of the legacy machine, whether it's in a computer controlled machines or numerical controlled machines, we look forward that this data or this information then later being connected to some other systems for the information exchange. So we advise that the next layer, once he integrates the basic sensor into his machines, the next thing is to connect them to the systems across the plant. So what will happen? So once he did this, the basic integration of the sensing and the basic controller unit. So when I say computing, doesn't mean that you will be integrating the computers into the machines. The idea is that even a small embedded controllers or the PLCs will also be good enough in the basic stage of integration with these machines. The later on, once the connectivity is established, once the sensing is being put into the machines, then the journey for the smart manufacturing starts. So the next stage we advise is that once you are able to do that, you will be able to see what is happening actually. So the visibility comes about, so as he said, he has an unstructured data, he don't have any information what is going on his plant, why the quality is not good. I think that is what get away once he see the visibility what is happening inside the organization, and then he will be able to develop a better understanding why this is happening, because his issues was that lot of problems he is encountering in the manufacturing, and a lot of problems he was mentioning about the quality, the right time deliveries, maybe the cost that is incurring because of the repetitive rejections. And then so he will be able to identify the source of rejections basically, and he may be also able to understand where exactly the quality is getting deteriorated. This kind of an insight is very useful for him. And so once he is able to reach to this stage, that's how we advise that please move step by step, move stage by stage. Once you will reach to this stage, once you are comfortable, then you will try to incorporate some of the predictive capacities into the system. So later we would like to have that his system, or he is also well prepared what will happen basically. So he start getting initial signals and initial insights and directions, so that he will come to know that what will happen if he will not take some corrective actions. So I think that kind of a predictive capacity get built up. And certainly the vision that we place for him is to make his factory more adaptable. So that's how the final dream for the smart manufacturing to happen. So how to make the system adapt to the changes that will be happening. So I think these are the stages that has been explained to move into the smart manufacturing. I will just take you through the quick understanding about the product life cycle, because one such question I put into the quiz also. I just want to understand how you visualize that, means what happens to the product, basically how it is being started. So initially it start from the customer requirements. So you will be capturing the customer requirements in the factory. He come out with the ideas. So sometimes it may be the design, some of the product concept will be there. Then this has to be transformed into the finally the manufacturable product actually. So that he has to do design of the products. So design engineering get involved. Then the manufacturing drawings to be made in the product life cycle. Then it requires a lot of production planning. So whether the material requirement planning is there, production scheduling is there, warehouse management is there, all that operations to be done. And then the actual production happens. So then use your facility to make this production happen. And while the items is in production, you need to exercise a good quality control. So this quality control function will keep on acting on this production facility. And once the thing is being produced, it is being given to the dispatch actually. That's how the quick product life cycle we need to understand, because this is very important from a perspective that what exactly you are trying to achieve with a smart manufacturing implementation. So let's see that. So there are the different time. That's what I have asked question. There's a time T1 that will go exactly onto the product manufacturing. So that's the time spent in the manufacturing facility. That is how the T1 is being given. T2 is a time for the production planning actually. It's for production, either planning for a batch or maybe planning for a one single job, or it's a kind of a mass production. So there's a planning required to do each of the batch actually. And there is a time which is to be spent in designing the product, preparing the manufacturing drawing. So if you see the difference between this T1, T2, T3 is basically like this. So T1 is the time required to produce 1 unit of the product, that is actually you spend on the production. T2 is the planning and setting up time for each batch. Whenever you want to plan for the production, you will be spending the T2 time. And T3 is one-time activity. So it may be the design that you will be doing one time actually. You will not be doing design for each product. So or each item of the product, each unit of the product. That's to be done once. So there's a time spent exactly onto the product. There's a time spent on a batch actually. There's a time which you will spend once on the product life cycle. I think that is how the things will be there. So just in a quick calculation, I'm not going into the detail of this, but the quick understanding that I want, the total time spent during the product life cycle, and that is how it is coming up, how much time spent on each unit. Because see now, T1 is certainly that you are spending on the manufacturing of the product, but some share of T2 and T3 will also to be accounted for while making the product, because whether you are preparing for a batch of 50 numbers, it has to be distributed over the 50 components. If it is to be designed for 1 lakh components to be produced, then design cost has to be shared by all those 1 lakh components. That is how the time scale works in the production systems. So this equation is very important to understand basically where exactly we are going to attack when we are talking about the smart manufacturing. So I will certainly not be talking about the automation, because that has already been taken care of in the last 30, 40 years of the implementations. But I will be just emphasizing. So though T1, T2, T3, all are important, but when we talk about the mass production, actually, T1 is very significant actually, because suppose if you are going to make 10,000 vehicles or 10,000 products in a shift actually, then I will be more focusing on this T1 actually, because we want to save the T1 part. Now, when we talk about the job shop productions, when you are going to make 5 numbers, 10 numbers, or when you are going for a batch size of 1, let's make one customized product actually. Now you will understand the significance of these times. T2 and T3 is very important actually, because T2, you are going to prepare your systems for making one product, and T3 is certainly because you are spending a lot of time in designing that particular product. So if I keep on, because earlier what happens when you are going to make a mass, so if you are going to make a 1 lakh numbers, your design cost of 30 lakhs will be divided onto the 1 lakh pieces, the per unit cost will be 30 rupees only. But if you are going to make one piece of this cost, and if you are spending 30 lakhs on that particular piece, certainly it cannot be affordable actually. So that's how the T2 and T3 are very significant when we are talking about the smart manufacturing. I think that is the idea that I just want to emphasize over here. So certainly the goal is to reduce all the 3 times. Automation technologies will be giving more emphasis on reducing the T1, and the smart manufacturing, we are more concerned about reducing the T2 and T3. That means the preparation time for the production, as well as the preparation means the changeover time as well. And then certainly the design and other one-time activity time that is required for this. So we would like to give more emphasis on this. This was the discussed, I think that is how the smart manufacturing is going to impact. It's going to transform all the operations. Means when we talk about the design, means how the collaborative design can happen, how the feedback from other sections can be received in real time by the designer, and he will be able to take into account. Then certainly we all understood that it's going to impact the manufacturing, because we want to have an autonomous operations, data-driven manufacturing, more flexible operations, real-time changes can be implemented. I think that's how it's going to impact it. More important part, even how the product is being used, that is also important. This is being considered as one of the aspects when we consider the smart management. So it's in a 360-degree view. It's not just focused on manufacturing alone. Even the supply chain will also be part of this. So when we talk about the use means, we would like to have information how the product is being used, because most of the time this information comes to the manufacturer only when the product fails. But we would like to have a continuous feedback. So how so we would like to have a consumer data coming to us. Remote monitoring of the system can happen. Remote diagnosis can happen. Means how the user is using the product. What are the lacuna in the product design or something. So those feedback should be available in the real time. And then later on, while servicing also, because those are the service engineers, they will come to know and give more suggestions means about the product itself. The fault diagnosis can be easily happen. The AR guided maintenance of the vehicle can be implemented. Part failure data should also be, because right now the service people keep on replacing some of the components into the vehicle, and this data is rarely made available to the manufacturers. Means how many such faults has happened and how many components being replaced. So these are the lot of activities and interaction is required in the smart manufacturing, and improvement suggestions also come from the service. So idea is that smart manufacturing is going to impact all these 4, not only these 4, even it is beyond that. So we would like to implement manufacturing with intelligence all across these stakeholders.